Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable right here on Facebook's live stream, Star Nation's live stream shows. Oh my goodness. I almost said something about the radio shows. We haven't done radio in 2 years. Well, it's one of those days. It feels like a Monday to me, but it's not. It's Wednesday, November 6th. And I'm back in the saddle. This is Spiritual Roundtable on our public business page here at Facebook for Star Nations. And today is all about the divination cards that I drew in the morning. And that sparks, hopefully, cross my fingers, that it's going to spark a spiritual conversation about what Spirit would like us to know about today. What's the most important information for us to know about today? And I'm hoping that it's going to give someone an aha moment, an insight to their spiritual growth and soul contract, maybe even. Wouldn't that be lovely? All right, I'm going to do the crawler thing on the screen so that everybody knows what the show is named and called. And so hopefully we'll have this spiritual conversation. It's one of the things that I missed while I was out recuperating was you guys and meeting in the afternoon and having this kind of conversation. So for those who may not remember, we're still using this deck. It's the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck by Kyle Gray, and Lily Moses is the illustrator. It's one of my favorite decks. We've been using this for a couple months now. I haven't gotten the nudge to change it out, so there must still be some stuff in here that we need to talk about. So let's see. Before I forget, I am going to send the live stream over to my page, my personal page. And see if I can do that. My phone won't let go of it. Oh, wonky stuff with technology this week. All right, I guess it's not going to want me to do that, and I can't share. Huh. Well, turn down the sound. That's kind of wonky. I don't know. It's a good thing I did some stuff before the show. This morning, I didn't have any internet at my house. I don't know what that was all about. We had the house cleaner in on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. And sometimes when she dusts behind the television on the internet, on the router box, there's a little button there that sometimes that will turn off the connection for the Wi-Fi. And I thought maybe that was the problem, but it wasn't. Our internet was down, and thank goodness I was asking my spiritual team to please clear the pathway so that we could have internet this afternoon. And look, we have internet, so we can do the show. Otherwise, I would have had to either use my hotspot on my phone or go to the local cafe just down the road. Let's see who's in the house. Hey, Rob's here. Hello, Rob. Good to have you here. I was listening to a couple of your posts that you had with your guitar. Yeah, pretty good. I know, radio, right? What is that? Actually, I have that in my car. I used to have satellite radio Sirius, but I haven't had that in quite a while. And so now I just depend on regular OFM. Yeah, can you believe that? Hey, Kimberly's here. Hi, Kimberly. Do you mind me calling you Kim, or your full name, right? How are you doing? How am I doing today? I'm doing. I had a little bit of a rough morning with the glucose level. I got just a little bit of a headache going on. And so, I've been drinking water and taking care of the best I can and waiting for my body to level out. The glucose levels were a little bit elevated today. Nothing like the upper 200s, but they were a little bit higher than usual. So I just spent the last 3 days having the same glucose reading 3 times a day for 3 days. So I guess my body must be doing something. So, let's see. Thanks for asking, Kimberly. I appreciate it. Lisa says, hello, guys. Hello. You're looking much better. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I do appreciate it. I am getting plenty of rest, that's for sure. Hey, Martina. My first time. Have watched others, though. I'm sure this will be just great. Well, I'm so glad you're here, Martina. You know, I see you in the live chats for a few of the other shows, so it's nice to have you here at the Spiritual Roundtable. And we're going to be getting into the cards in just a second. Any is fine. Okay. Because Kim was just popped out of my mouth. And I know that some people, you know, especially when you have a very kind of formal name, there's some people who really like their formal name, and rather than shortening it up, you know. And I would be happy to call you any of that. Hello, Marie. Good to have you here. It's always good to have you in the chat, Marie. All right. We have 3 cards today. And sometimes, you know, it takes a little while to work through 3 cards. So here's the first card. I'm going to turn off the crawler because that way it doesn't get in the way. Right? There we go. All right, so here is the first card for today. Now, these cards are for all of us, right? And so the intention that I hold for when I'm drawing the cards is I'm asking my spiritual team to show me what's most important information or energy for us to know about today that will help us with our soul work, our soul journey. And that's for the highest good and the highest good of all. So when you hear something that kind of speaks to you, so you know that that part is specifically for you, okay? So we're not doing individual card draws. We're doing it something for the whole group for the rest of the week. All right. So the Knight was the very first card that was drawn, and it's be brave and honest. Be brave and honest. And, you know, it so reminds me of a Templar, right? I know it doesn't have the colors of the Templar, but it kind of reminds me of that. Holding his broadsword, his two-handed sword, right? Yeah, and in the background, notice in the background, we have roses and a cup, the Holy Grail, a chalice, right? And in the doorway behind him, it's completely dark. And for me, that so speaks to the goddess, right? The divine feminine. You know, and with the rose, certainly speaks to the goddess, right? Or Mother Mary, right? Because she represents that energy as well. Yeah, and and I don't know if I can get this on camera, but if you look really, I'm going to try to get it focus, his face. There we go. I don't know if you can tell, but in one eye, his eyes are closed, but in his one eye, he has a tear, right? And you can tell this man he has seen some battle. He has scars, right? He's fully armored. He's protected. Yeah. Very interesting, don't you think? And so, you know, this so reminds me of, you know, being brave and being honest, right? That it does take a good amount of courage to be honest, and especially with those that that love you, that know you, and also to have that courage to be honest with yourself, right? To be honest with yourself. Sometimes that can be pretty difficult because we like to be in denial. We like to, not look in that direction, right? And for me lately, I certainly had to be honest about my health, right? And so sometimes, that to be brave and to be honest. There's some people who, much like this night, they have quite a protective cover over themselves, right? Because you can see his chainmail from the top of his head all the way down to the cuffs of his sleeves over his chest, right? And sometimes it does take some courage and some honesty to for us to lean into our sacred feminine, right? Because we've been taught from little on that the masculine nature is more precedent. Where we're taught to think critically. We're encouraged, right, to use our left brain more than our right brain. You know, yeah, and so the masculine has really been in the forefront for women, the gender of a woman, right? So it does take some courage for some people to really step into their sacred feminine, their divine feminine, both genders, both male and female, because we've spent a lot of time in that other gender, in that other, not so much gender, but the energy of, right? And so with this card, we're looking at lots of different messages here. We could even say that he could actually be protecting the sacred feminine, right? Because he's standing in front of the rose and the chalice and the dark entrance with his sword. Some people might even say that he's prayerful, right? Well, let's see what the author has to say about this card. It says the message. The message is, do the right thing, even if it isn't the easiest option. Stand for what you know to be right and true. Right and true. And so, history tells us that knights had a code of ethics. And especially in England, in the European arena, right? They're warriors, and they had a certain code of ethics. And if I remember right, Rob, you might want to help me with this one. If I remember right, the English knights, right, were called flowers, because they protected royalty, right? And yeah. And so, that's kind of an interesting juxtaposition, is to have a warrior referred to as a flower. But at any rate, the message here is to have courage to do the right thing, even if it might not be the easiest path to take, but to have the courage and to be honest with yourself, and to have honesty sometimes isn't the easiest path. Sometimes it can be kind of a difficult path to take. Yeah, and that Holy Grail. In here it says, in the sense, he is the protector of the Holy Grail, and therefore of your spiritual growth and expansion. Because the Holy Grail, in many beliefs, is that it's coveted, right? It's a very special symbol. And some believe that it was actually the divine feminine that it represented, the Holy Grail. Right? All right. I'm going to check over in the chat and get caught up with you guys. Hey, Mervyn Kelly's here. Hello, Mervyn. Good afternoon to you, or good evening, I should say. Good evening. It's always good to have you in the house. Mervyn is one of our show hosts here at Star Nations. He has his show, which is called From Star to Stone, the second Tuesday of every month at 9 a.m. Eastern. Yeah. Lisa said, could you repeat the prayer for Mercury retrograde? It was so inspiring. Oh, sure. Absolutely. Because I said it this morning again, is that I accept all of the blessings of the Mercury retrograde, and I decline anything less than the gift. Yeah, something like that. It depends on the situation. This morning I was talking about communication because my internet was out, and so when I did the prayer, I was saying I accept all of the gifts of Mercury retrograde. Yeah, and I decline anything less than that. Yeah. Oops, did that one. There we go. And Rob is saying looks more like a hospitaler to me, but the white can go either way. This is true. That because I knew that the Templar had the red cross, right, as a symbol. But his energy feels like a Templar. And the fact that, the chalice is there, the Holy Grail. And wasn't it the Templars that were protecting the Holy Grail? I think so. You guys can let me know. Mervyn is saying the knight is holding the Crusader sword rather than the broadsword. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you, Mervyn. May I ask what the deck is, please? Yes, you may. It is Angels and Ancestors Oracle Deck by Kyle Gray. And Kyle is from Glasgow. He's Scottish. And Lily Moses, who's the illustrator, is from New Zealand. Yeah. And so, I'm the one who called it a broadsword. He did not. I'm looking to see what he just said sword. That his the knight is a knight in shining armor dedicated to the crown that his sword defends. I'm the one who called it a broadsword, a two-handed sword. But the Crusader sword, and definitely gets that feeling, right? I got to sneeze. Hang on. Excuse me. Kimberly saying, yes, that's is very feeling though. Freeing. Yes. Mervyn is saying, lucky for me with having the mother I have and the years I've had taking care of her. That's true. That's really true. That divine feminine, right? Shows us something. He's saying that has given me the opportunity to know the true power of feminine energy and the sacred feminine beyond that. It certainly does. Because both Mervyn and I are, taking care of our elderly mothers, and we can certainly see and sense that inner strength, right? That inner strength that has carried them through a heck of a lot in their lifetime. Rob is saying, I've not heard of that. French knights were the fleur-de-lis, but I have not looked that up. I'll look that up. Okay, good. Because, I could have sworn I read it somewhere that they were referenced as the flowers. The flowers. All right. And Mervyn is saying, if the Grail is depicted, then he's definitely a Templar. And see, in the background, you can see the chalice in the background. And some believe that it was, that it was a chalice, that it was the Holy Cup, right? The Holy Grail. But where I get that is because we have the roses there as well, and then the darkness in the background, which has always been a symbol of the divine feminine, that darkness, that dark color. Whereas the divine masculine has always been represented by the light, right? The sun, and the divine feminine always by the moon. And Rob is saying, both Templars and, I'm going to mispronounce this every time, Hospitallers were protecting pilgrims during the Crusades, though in different ways. The Templars were betrayed the King of France. Some say they became the Freemasons. That's true. I've heard the same thing. And they traveled all over the world. Yeah. Lisa says the rose holds the highest vibration of all flowers. That's true. It really is true. So, one of the other things that the author has to say about this is that the knight represents the warrior within you, that his sword and the armor shows his courage and his strength. And that, but if you look closely, you'll see that he has a tear running down his face, showing his willingness to be vulnerable and his love for what he protects. And the love for what he protects. And that is something that us two-leggeds have hardwired in our brains, is that we protect what we love. We protect what we love. And so if this knight loves the divine feminine, the goddess, it's protecting, standing between harm's way and the divine feminine. And the fact that he actually has a tear is actually showing his divine feminine side of him, right? Because we all carry both the male and masculine of the sacred within us. And so you might even say that this knight is maybe even striving for balance between the two, because he's able to show that part of himself that is the divine feminine while standing in the masculine sacredness as well. So we could see it as balance. We could feel it as balance, or at least the beginning of being in balance. The author goes on to say that the energy of respect is important right now. You're being encouraged to figure out what's important to you and what you stand for. What do you stand for? And would you protect it? Right? You're being surrounded by a light of bravery to help you. This card also brings justice. If you're longing for justice, please know that the universal energies are working to bring everything back into order, and that you don't need to force anything through your will. So if you're feeling the need to defend your spiritual path at this time, back down and let it protect you. Okay? So one of the things that we know about the divine feminine is that that's also the part of us that is our intuition, our connection to our creative self, our emotions, right? And so if the knight is protecting the sacred feminine, we're safe, we're secure. We can be vulnerable. We can also lean into our emotions. We can show them, feel them. We can trust our intuition. Right? And if we're looking at or sensing What is it that's important to us? What is it that we stand for? Right? And coming to that realization through our intuition, through our sacred feminine side, rather than coming through to it from our sacred masculine, which would be through our mental thoughts, right? Through that assertiveness of the sacred masculine. I don't know. Have you ever done that? Have you ever sensed, used your emotions, your feelings to identify what is it that I stand for? What's important to me that I would stand for it and defend it, protect it? Yeah. You know, because many of us, I'm sure we could do it from our mental ability. That's like a snap because we're trained to do that. But if we come to that conclusion or that realization through our sacred feminine, if we come to it through that darkness, right? And I like what Lisa had to say about the rose being the highest vibration flower. So in our highest vibration, we can identify what we stand for. And we can have the courage to stand for it, right? It kind of reminds me of standing for Grandmother Earth, right? Gotta plug in my laptop. Standing for Grandmother Earth and being one of her protectors. There's many people who've done that in the last few years. There's many people who have gone to jail because they stood at the front lines to protect Mauna Kea in Hawaii, sacred sites from being destroyed, from water, rivers like at Standing Rock, right? There were from all over the world, people have said, I'm going to stand for that. I am going to stand for Grandmother Earth and I'm going to protect her. Okay. I think that is a really prime example, you know, but there's other things in our personal lives that we could take a stand for, right? For me today, in the last few weeks, taking a stand for my health and saying, yes, this is important to me. I have to put that front and center, right? And I have to protect the time that it takes to be healthy, right? So what is it for you? What is something that you can identify, and coming through the place of the sacred feminine to identify it, right? And knowing that we have that ability within us to be that warrior, to protect it, to stand for it, to have the courage to do that. You know? Sometimes, I'm wondering though, is it just to have the courage to be in balance with the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine? You know? Because when we're in balance like that, we take in so much more information from all around us. Our senses are heightened when we're in balance. Yeah. What's it for you? What's it mean for you? Rob is saying yesterday was the 30th anniversary of the Standing Rock protest in Lansing. It was. Can you imagine? It's already been 3 years. Wow. We all saw how that ended. Yeah, we certainly did. And then for some people, it hasn't ended, Rob. For some people, it hasn't ended. There's still some court cases, people going to court yet in North Dakota. They had so many cases to work through, and some of the cases that were the most difficult, they're still working through it. Yeah. We learned a heck of a lot from it, that's for sure. That's for sure. Lisa's saying the Berkeley Psychic Institute utilizes the rose in many modalities: protection, grounding, cleansing, etc. Yeah, yeah, and anointing, right? There's um, lots of people, organizations who use the rose oil to anoint, right? It's about an initiation. Lots of modalities do it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Lisa. Okay, so keep that in mind in your heart, because the second card, which supports the message of the first card, right, is autumn. Release the old and rest. Release the old and rest. We have a raven here. And one of the things that we know about raven medicine is that raven is a messenger to the underworld. Okay? Raven can you can connect with Raven and ask Raven to bring you back information. The spirit of Raven, the medicine of Raven, can fly in any dimension, through any dimension, and to be able to bring you back information. Does the traveling for you. Yeah, Raven. In the Celtic traditions, Raven is held in quite a high esteem, right? Yeah. So what does Raven have to do with autumn? When you think about autumn, right, you think about how the change going from summer to winter. Autumn is in that transition place, right? On the medicine wheel, it is in the northwestern part of the wheel, crosswinds. Yeah. And so it's that transition. It's going from the harvest, right? The last bits of harvest, those things that the farmers are people who grow crops are bringing in the last of the harvest. The trees that are losing their leaves, they're going into their downtime, right? All their energy is getting sent to their roots and not to their branches. It's a change. It's a change. And some people would say that we're going into hibernation, we're going into winter, right? And for some people, this is a really hard time, that's the hardest change to do in the seasons. Yep. It's hard on my mom physically, because we're going to a colder, and it's a bit more wet because it's been raining a lot, and so her arthritis hurts, and this is the roughest time of the seasons for her. We spend a lot of time on pain management in the fall, in the autumn, and for those who might not be going through the physical challenges, it could be more about we have less daylight this time of year, right? And so we're heading into the shorter days, and for some people that's a challenge. So autumn, there's also all the color, the foliage, right? Just before the trees drop their leaves. That's about that letting go, the release. Release the old and rest. Release the old and rest. We can use that as a way to be able to slow ourselves down a bit, because I know that for sure, firsthand. I know about that. Let's see what the author has to say. The message. The message is, release all of the pressure and expectation weighing you down. Shed it so all that you can recover before moving in to a time of renewal. The time of renewal, right? Getting prepared. Some people would see this as a time of preparation. In that transition, preparing for the next, right? And in that rest, we could call it that plateau, that transition time, that when we've been through a life lesson and we're on the other side of it, right? We've talked about this lots of times, is that when we're on the other side of that life lesson and we haven't quite gained all the wisdom, we haven't done enough application of what we just learned. We're gathering and we're sitting with it, right? And we're like, how do we do this? How do we use that? We're identifying what the life lesson was, what the gifts are from it. We're relieved that we made it through that life lesson. And in some ways, we might even be, celebrating, right? Because we just achieved something. But it's in that transition time. It's almost like a plateau because you're not really. You almost feel sometimes like you're waiting. You're waiting for the next, right? Autumn can be like that, especially toward the end of autumn, like where we are right now in November. All the trees have that are going to lose their leaves. They're down. Last night it snowed here. It's maybe a couple inches, not much. But you can feel that winter is in the air. But we're right at the very end of autumn and heading into winter. Yeah. So the raven can certainly help us through and getting us information, especially if you're going through that integration time after a life lesson. Calling on our power animals to help us with it, right? How to help us to understand it. What just happened? How are we supposed to use this, right? And it's in the application part that we start gaining the wisdom because we're using the information, the gem that we just received. And so in that application, we learn about it. We learn how to master it. And once we get through that piece, then we're harvesting that wisdom. We're taking it in. We're claiming it. And then we get to take it to our community in service to them. All right. So here is something else that the author has to say. He says, autumn is when the trees are preparing for the long winter, cold winter, and must let go of the weight they are carrying in order to continue and to grow and prosper. Sometimes you too just have to surrender an aspect of yourself in order to continue to grow and prosper. The raven on the autumn card shows that there are bifocals. There are opportunities to heal at this time. In the Celtic animal medicine, the raven is the bird of healing and initiation. The healing it brings is a shift that allows you to move into a more powerful psychic space where you can be more aware of your needs and desires and be supported. You know what is heavy and what's holding you back. You already know this. At a soul level, you already know. It's time to let it go. When you hold on, you try to control reality that never works. When you let go, you make space for the new to enter your life. You're being guided by your angels and nature herself to release whatever is stopping you from moving forward. So you already know. You already know what you're needing to let go of, right? And in that knowing, it takes courage to be honest with yourself about it and do the right thing, which isn't always the easiest path, right? That's what that first card was talking about. And we can get to that through our intuition, through our sacred feminine side. We can get to that point. We can sense, feel, see what it is that we have to let go of, to release. Right? We don't have to be I was going to say, you don't have to be assertive in it, right? You don't have to be aggressive in it. That's a better word, aggressive in it. You can come through your sacred feminine side, identify it, love it, let it go. Say thank you. I'm grateful for what you brought to me, but now is the time to go. Gotta release it. Lisa's saying, it's snowing here. Between the snow and watching nature, it's a beautiful day just being. I know. The morning was gorgeous. Gorgeous. It's our first real snowfall here. And Rochelle, hey Rochelle, she said, just got home from Grand Rapids, snowing crazy. Really? You guys are probably getting what we had this morning. So I'm gonna say that the autumn card in Raven, right? The color of Raven is dark. And so we can actually kind of draw on the sacred feminine side of Raven as well. Right? If you want to call on your power animals to help you. But it's with this card, which was our first card, it's about being brave and honest. That you're encouraged to figure out what's important to you and what you stand for. And what you stand for. So here's the possibility, is that Spirit is letting us know that when we identify what we stand for, what's important to you, right, is to have the courage to be honest with yourself about it, number one. And number two is that in that honesty, you know what's blocking you from claiming that in which you stand for, what's important for you. And so in releasing what no longer is supporting you in that, you can let it go. You can let that go so that it frees up the energetic space and also the energy to be able to really step into what you stand for, right? When was the last time you were actually asked that? What's important to you? What do you stand for? What's your personal, I was going to say creed, code. Because remember, when we first started this, we're talking about knights. And I said knights have a specific code. A code is chivalry, right? And they stand by that code. They live by that code. They swore an oath to a royalty to defend them. And they stood by that code. So what is it that you stand for? Maybe that's what we need to look at for 2020, right? What is it that you stand for? All right, we have one more card. The Sun. Enjoy success and happiness. Right? So I think that when we identify, this is what I'm feeling, is that when we identify what it is that we stand for, what's important to us, we're talking about at a soul level, right? What do we stand for? What would we protect? Identifying what we need to do to remove the debris, what's blocking it. We already know what it is that we have to let go. And so we can do it in a kind way, a compassionate way to let it go, so we can fully stand in what it is that we truly believe, what we stand for. And when we can do that, when we do that wholeheartedly, as they say, Spirit's saying that we're going to enjoy success and happiness. And you still have to define that for yourself as well. How do you define your success and your happiness? Brilliant, right? Brilliant, like the sun. So the feeling that I'm getting from the message today is about as we consider this and identify it and step into it, leaning into our sacred feminine, is that we can actually come into 2020 knowing ourselves better, knowing what it is that we are willing to stand up for, to stand in, right? And we talked about the balance between the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, and come from that place. We can lean into the sacred feminine as we identify what it is that we're going to stand for, what's important to us to be able to stand and even protect, right? But when we stand in it, and we're actually being the balance between the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, that's a very powerful place to be, right? In that balance. Hey, Roxanne joined us too. Hello, Roxanne. Good to have you here. All right. So one of the things that we've learned in this last year and almost 2 years of doing this show and drawing cards is that when I show all 3 cards, is that it's important for us to be grounded so that we can take in as much of the information as we possibly can in all of our bodies, so that we get an optimal sense of what the information is coming through, right? All right, so if you haven't grounded, just take a moment and ground. Imagine you being grounded to Grandmother Earth. And here's another thing that we've learned over these past few months, and that is that we're grounding to all, because we're multidimensional beings, we're grounding to all the dimensions that we are experiencing, our soul is experiencing, right? And holding that intention. And then calling to your spiritual team to assist you with that, and also to assist you in taking in the information from the cards for you personally, okay? All right, calling them close. So here are the 3 cards. Wait, let me take my name down. It doesn't get in the way. Here are the 3 cards together. So the first card that came was the Knight, right? We talked about the sacred feminine, the dark color in the background, the rose and the chalice, that his vulnerability that he's showing by shedding a tear. protecting the sacred feminine. And the card is all about being courageous and being honest. Second card was the autumn, release the old and rest. So we're being asked by Spirit to identify what it is that we stand for. What do you stand for? What's important to you? To identify it. Because at a soul level, you already know what you need to let go of to release in order to fully stand in it, in what's important to you. Right? And then the sun. That if we can be honest with ourselves and to identify what it is that we stand for, leaning into our sacred feminine, our intuition, our emotions in a balanced way, that the sun is all about enjoying success and happiness. And it feels to me like this is something that we're going to be going into 2020. If we can identify what it is that's important to us to stand for, that we're going to be going into 2020 in a much more balanced and coming from a place of strength, power. Some would say a strong Dantian. Strong Dantian. Yeah. Just looking at the time, I want to leave a few minutes at the end to share a couple things with you guys. So whatever resonated with you with that information coming from Spirit through the cards, my suggestion is to embrace it. Embrace it and sense, feel, see how today's energy is unfolding for you and where this information can be helpful, right? And this one, I think we should probably kind of keep tabs on it. It's kind of like last year when we were being reminded to ground. Every single day we were asking each other, did you ground today? Did you ground today? So with this one, I think we're getting prepared for identifying for ourselves, what's our code? What are we willing to stand for, right? Yeah. So we can go into 2020 in a more powerful position. Yeah. All right. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Lisa says, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm on fire. I know it was a pretty interesting information coming across. That's for sure. You're welcome, Rob. You're welcome. So a couple things I wanted to share with you guys before we say good afternoon or good evening. And that is tonight. Tonight is Soul Connections with Polly Jo LeBay. It's an evening about healing and divine messages. If you are a light worker, if you are an energy worker, and you have put yourself at the bottom of the list, I've done that. I'm not doing it anymore, but I've done that. Put yourself at the bottom of the list and you don't put your own healing on that list. Tonight is all about you. You come in with your own intention of what you need to heal, and you and your spiritual team come in with be able to do that kind of work. Polly Jo, what she and her team do is they hold that sacred space for us, the container for us to do that. Yeah, it's deep work. And then the second half of the show is all about the card draw, an individual mini reading from Polly Jo. And so she keeps going until everybody gets a card who wants a card. So you can join her tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time at Chakra Sessions. Watch for the notifications to come through. And we'll see you in the live chat, okay? And the other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys, got two more things, is that November 10th is coming up quick. And you know what that means is publishing day. November issue of Star Nations magazine, it's on its way. And we're rolling into the near final editing piece for it. And I want to show you something. Let me get the picture up for you guys. There we are. Just got to get to it. You guys get the sneak peek. Sneak peek at the cover. I'm going to give it a solo here. It's all about Native American women. That's the major topic for this issue. It's also about gratitude. Yeah. So that's the cover of the November issue. Coming up, November 10th is Publishing Day. Publishing Day. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that issue next week, Tuesday. But that's the cover. Yeah. It was fun pulling together that issue. Now, the other thing that I wanted to share with you guys is that I'm teaching this coming, not this weekend, but the following weekend of the 15th. And that is a journey to remembering. And that is an in-person class here at Star Nations Academy, where I am broadcasting from. We have a class that's going to be all about balancing the head and the heart. Yeah. What's it like to remember how to live your life from your high heart, from a balanced state, and how to create from that state. And we're going to talk about creating. And the Saturday is our healing day. And some of you have experienced that with me already, healing day. It's found, and it is a very gentle way of healing and being surrounded by unconditional love, receiving unconditional love. And so many of us have never, ever experienced that in our adult life, right? And some of us don't even remember what it feels like. And so Healing Day is really an important day to be able to clear away some of the blocks or the debris that would prevent you from living your life from your high heart and creating your Merkaba, activating your organic Merkaba. And so Sunday, that's what that's all about. And so we have 4 more spaces left, 4 more. To be able to come and join us. And so if you would like to do that and need more information, you can go to our website, which is Star Nations Organization, and go to the Academy link page. And we have more information there for you. Just scroll down on that page and you'll find some information about the class. And let's see. I'm going to put that into comments. There we go. Yeah. So you get to come and spend some time with me. All right. So today's Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you back here for the Spiritual Roundtable on Sunday, which is going to be held and is held at the Star Nations live stream show closed group, where we will be doing dream interpretation. And that also includes meditation interpretation. And so I'm going to tell you, that has become a very well-attended show in the closed group. When we hold it in the closed group, because that way it is really a focused way of sharing. Whereas in the public group, we're open to the entire public, right? And in the closed group, we know that we're in our own community and we can be open, vulnerable, sharing our dreams and looking for insight. Or if you just want to share it with somebody, because sometimes we don't even have a chance to be able to do that with someone, right? So all right. So anyway, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you back here on Sunday for the Spiritual Roundtable, and tonight for Soul Connections with Polly Jola Bay. All right. Bama Mina, you know what that means, don't you, in Potawatomi? Until we see each other again. Love you guys.